Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome once again to Booking a Better Wrestler. My name is Paul Laporte, and this is the show where we take one wrestler from WWE's roster and see if we can do a better job with them. We're continuing our main event wrestler week here. We did a show on Wednesday to see if we could do a better job with Roman Reigns, who is certainly not being booked poorly, at least weekly, on WWE television. And by weekly, I mean in a weak way, not every week, because he's on every single show. But he is, many will argue, not being booked well. And we are going to do a similar thing this week, and the subject for this week's episode is going to be none other than John Cena. Okay, so again, you can certainly argue that John Cena is probably the strongest wrestler maybe that's ever been presented. Certainly the strongest one of the modern era. He's had 100 title reigns. He's just Superman Cena. He's been booked so strongly for so many years that it's just kind of become a running joke. But I had a friend of mine ask me if I could do a better job with him, or if he thinks I could do a better job. And I think we can, and where we're going to try and book him better is John Cena's injured. He's going to be coming back, so he needs something to do once he gets back. So it's going to kind of tie into that. Plus, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and book John Cena gracefully down the card. So we're going to try and permanently take John Cena out of the main event scene. And this is something that WWE has been very poor with doing in the past. When wrestlers who are at the top of the card start to get older, WWE doesn't kind of know what to do with them, so they either just keep going with them at the top of the card, despite the fact that there are younger and faster and better wrestlers coming in, or they just kind of drop them off the face of the earth completely. They don't really have a way to deal with people who are getting up there and keeping them on the show, but not keeping them as the main focus of the show. And that's what we're going to try and do. Also, what we're not going to try and do is I'm not going to turn him heel. Again, kind of like with the Roman Reigns thing, that feels like cheating. Also, he does a lot of really good charity work. He sells a lot of merchandise. So business-wise, it's just a bad idea. I know a lot of people are calling for a John Cena heel turn. They have been forever, but I think that ship has kind of sailed on him. I think that we just try and book him down the card and then keep him as basically the same character. Okay, so let's go. John Cena's first night back, and he is going to try and pick up where he left off. He comes out, he's as usual. John Cena self says he's here to take back his U.S. title, and he challenges the current champ, Kalisto, to a match. This is going under the assumption, of course, that Kalisto still has the belt, and the timeline on this is kind of shady because we don't know exactly when he's going to return. But it's not really important. We can keep that kind of loose. So John Cena wrestles Kalisto, and Kalisto wrecks him. He's way too fast. Every time Cena thinks he has a beat on Kalisto, Kalisto manages to get away and continue his offense. The announcers mentioned that John just seems to be missing a step, and maybe it's just ring rust, but Kalisto gets the pinfall victory in very impressive fashion. Okay? Next week, John Cena comes out and he just kind of shrugs it off. He congratulates Kalisto on the win, and he says that maybe he just needed to shake some rust off, and he challenges a man he wrestled when he was the champion, the presumably newly promoted Sami Zayn. The two face off against each other, and Zayn wins handily. Again, he just seems to be a step ahead of Cena, and there's a clear look of doubt on Cena's face after the match. So you have 2 weeks in a row, 2 clean losses by guys that John Cena normally would have beaten previously. The following week, John Cena is invited to appear on Miz TV, and the Miz calls out John Cena and just berates him. Miz says that he's been waiting for this moment since he showed up in WWE. Superman is dead. The days of John Cena being able to do whatever he wants and beat anyone are over. He's old. He's worn out. He's washed up. Cena responds by challenging The Miz to a match at the next pay-per-view, whenever that would be based on the timetable, and The Miz laughs in his face and then just attacks him, catches Cena off guard with the skull-crushing finale, and then he grabs the mic and he gets right in Cena's face as he's down, and he says to him, "I was on top of this company, John. You ruined my career. Look where I am now. You made me into a joke. Well, I'm going to be the last one laughing when I retire your ass." He kicks him once more, and then he walks off. Now, leading up to the pay-per-view, we're going to get Miz back in the ring, and we're going to get him some solid wins over some tough competition. We're going to have him win against guys like Adrian Neville. We can have him get a win over Sami Zayn, who beat John Cena handily. People like that. It's just they're going to be solid mid-card victories, and meanwhile, John Cena isn't going to be wrestling at all. He's going to be training. They're going to show shots of him in the Performance Center, trying to get back to his old shape, maybe have an interview with Jason Albert, people like that, trainers, just to kind of talk on Cena's condition and Cena's recovery. But after every match that The Miz has, he's going to be taunting Cena. He's going to say, this is what's going to happen to you, while motioning towards his fallen opponents, and he's going to talk incessantly about the time has finally come for John Cena to be put down once and for all. Now, while this is going on, John Cena may not be wrestling, but he's going to be at the shows, and he's going to respond to this taunting from The Miz in kind of his usual way. You know, he's just, I'm going to do what I always do, and I'm going to fight and fight and fight. But he doesn't have the same confidence he normally has. And you can tell that there's real worry in his voice, and you can tell that even he doubts whether or not he's going to be able to get the job done. Alright, so the pay-per-view comes, and the story of this match is, again, just going to be The Miz being ahead of Cena, just being one step ahead of him. It seems like he's got Cena well scouted, and every time Cena manages to put him in a bad spot, Miz slips away. He just seems to be aware of Cena's offense, and he always has a good counter for it. The match is going to be back and forth. Cena is going to get some offense in, but it just seems to be tilting more in the way of The Miz than it is of John Cena. And the ending of the match is going to come when Cena goes to hit an AA, but Miz counters it into a skull-crushing finale. And he drops down to pin Cena. 1, 2, and then Miz pulls Cena up by his head, laughing and wagging his finger, signifying that he's not done with him yet. And he's going to pull John Cena up to his feet, lift him onto his shoulders like he's going to give him an attitude adjustment, humiliating him with his own finisher, but then Cena shifts his momentum and gives the Miz a crucifix pin and gets the flash pin. 1, 2, 3. Cena slides out of the ring, Miz gets back to his feet, and stands up just shocked and furious. Now, I know that people are going to maybe say that this emasculates The Miz a little bit more, but really it was just The Miz having his own confidence get the better of him. He had John Cena finish, and the next night on Raw, Cena's going to come out, and he's going to thank The Miz for giving him the opportunity to win the match, and then he's going to thank the trainers at the Performance Center for suggesting the counter to the AA just in case Miz happened to get that cocky, showing that Cena just had the superior knowledge and the superior experience, and he was humble enough to actually go to somebody else to get help. Cena then goes on to say that he knows he's getting along in his career, and he doesn't know if he'll be in WWE in 10 years or even in 5 years, but he knows that while he's here, he's going to fight with everything he has left. And from here on out, you have John Cena become the gatekeeper to the upper mid-card. You don't need to have him challenge for titles all the time, and if he does challenge for the IC title or the US title or maybe, once in a great while, the heavyweight championship, he's going to lose. He can be used well in this role to make incoming stars look great. I mean, we've seen how good he can be, like when he was in the US title challenge, working with younger wrestlers, but the problem with that was that he just had to win every time and beat them to keep his title. If we set him up this way, he can have competitive matches with young talent. Sometimes he's going to win those matches, and other times he's going to lose those matches, and he's still going to be received well by the kids, who aren't going to care if he takes some losses, and his merchandise is surely still going to sell well. They'll just love John Cena because they've loved him all along, and he might even get a little bit more support from the adult fans. And of course, putting him in this role makes sure that we can get some fresh blood at the top of the card, as that's one less spot that's taken up. We don't have to rotate John Cena into the main event every 2 or 3 months, so it gives room for other people who manage to have gotten by John Cena, who have that notch on their belt, and gives them a little bit of extra credibility, and then moves them into a spot that is now available because John Cena isn't there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Next time around, we're probably going to get back to more traditional episodes. Let me know what you think of the show, if there's any people you'd like to see specifically, or if there's anything specific you'd like to see me do. We're doing 2 of these a week, so we're going to kind of burn through a lot of the roster fairly quickly. I might shift this to once a week at some point if I can find something to fill in the void. I might do that. But for right now, we're going to kind of continue this with twice a week. Be sure to check out our other shows. This seems to be the most popular show, and I'm glad that people are enjoying it. But we're doing a lot of really cool stuff with Changing the Questions and Time Warp, which just debuted this week. There's going to be some cool things that have already been suggested for that. So be sure to check out those shows and check out our recaps and previews. The Royal Rumble recap is up. I know that's a little old at this point, but that was an entertaining listen. I got a lot of good feedback on that, mainly because people just like to see me get angry, I guess. So check that out if you want to just hear me progressively lose my mind through the course of 20 minutes or a half hour or so. And also, we want to hear your feedback again, and you can do that either by commenting on the video. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, by the way. We're trying to get to 50 subscribers as soon as we can, just kind of a little milestone we want to hit. So if you haven't done so already and you're watching these on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis anyways, then just hit the subscribe button and give us a little bit of an extra bump. And if you want to leave feedback through other means, you can send us an email. You can send that at changingthequestions@gmail.com. You can also send us a message on Facebook. Just search for Changing the Questions there. You can also send us a message on Twitter at Changing the Qs, which is at Changing the QS. And that's going to wrap it up. Thank you again for listening. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you back on Monday for another episode of Time Warp. Cheers.